The rainforest does not need size to dominate you. By the time you reach this final layer of the system, the illusion that danger must be large, visible, or singular has already collapsed. The forest floor, once read as background, reveals itself as infrastructure, dense, organized, and occupied by organisms that operate collectively rather than individually. Movement here is not just about predators and prey, but about networks, chemical signals, and bodies that function as extensions of something larger than themselves. Within that system, the bullet ant does not stand out through appearance alone. It stands out through consequence. At first, there is nothing remarkable about the trail. A line of ants moves with direction and purpose along a fallen branch, disappearing into a vertical column that climbs the rough bark of a tree. The individuals are large for ants, their bodies dark and polished, mandibles strong, movements deliberate rather than frantic. They are not wandering. They are part of a structured flow, a continuous exchange between the colony and the surrounding environment. Leaves, fragments, and organic material move in one direction, while information, encoded chemically, moves in all directions at once. The colony is not a place. It is a process. Bullet ants, like many social insects, operate through a decentralized system of communication built on pheromones. Chemical trails define pathways, alert signals mobilize defenders, and subtle variations in scent convey changes in state: food discovered, threat detected, route altered. This system allows the colony to respond to disturbances with speed that appears coordinated, even though no single individual is directing the response. It is not intelligence in the human sense. It is distributed function, a network of simple rules producing complex behavior. When that system is disturbed, the response is immediate and collective. A foot placed against the base of a tree, a hand gripping bark without awareness, or even a shift in weight that compresses part of the colony's pathway can trigger a cascade of signals. The ants do not assess the situation individually. They respond as a unit. Within seconds, individuals transition from routine movement to defensive posture, mandibles opening, bodies angling toward the source of disturbance. The chemical signal spreads faster than any one ant could move, and in that spread, the colony transforms. The sting itself is delivered through a modified ovipositor, a structure evolved into a precise injection mechanism. Unlike bees, which lose their stinger after a single use, bullet ants can sting repeatedly. This is a critical distinction. The defense is not a single event, but a sustained capability. Each ant that reaches the point of contact contributes its own injection, and because the response is collective, the number of stings can escalate quickly depending on the scale of the disturbance. The venom is centered around a peptide known as ponerotoxin, a compound that targets voltage-gated sodium channels in nerve cells. These channels are essential for the generation and propagation of electrical signals within the nervous system. Under normal conditions, they open and close in tightly regulated sequences, allowing neurons to fire in controlled patterns. Ponerotoxin disrupts this regulation, causing prolonged activation of these channels. The result is a flood of electrical activity, signals that fire when they should not, persist longer than they should, and propagate in ways that distort normal sensory processing. This is where the sting moves beyond simple injury and into the territory of systemic disruption. The pain is not just intense, it is dominating. It overrides other sensory inputs, saturating the nervous system with signals that demand attention. Descriptions often emphasize its severity, But the more important aspect is how it behaves over time. It does not spike and fade quickly. It persists, sometimes for hours, maintaining a level of intensity that prevents the body from returning to baseline function. Within the first moments after envenomation, the local effects are immediate: sharp, penetrating pain at the site of the sting. But as the toxin interacts with the nervous system, broader responses begin to emerge. Muscles near the site may twitch or contract involuntarily, reflecting the disrupted signaling pathways. Sweating can increase, driven by autonomic responses that mirror those seen in other forms of systemic stress. The body begins to behave as though it is under sustained threat, even if the initial contact has ended. When multiple stings occur, these effects compound. The nervous system does not process each input in isolation. It integrates them, and when the inputs are overwhelming, integration breaks down. Pain signals overlap and amplify, creating a condition where distinguishing one source from another becomes irrelevant. The body shifts from responding to individual stimuli to managing a generalized state of overload. In that state, control becomes difficult to maintain. Tremors can develop as muscles respond to erratic signaling, not in coordinated movement, but in fragmented contractions. Fine motor control, grip strength, balance adjustments, precise steps becomes unreliable. Larger movements may still be possible, but they lack the refinement needed to navigate complex terrain. The forest floor, already uneven and obstructed, becomes more difficult to traverse when the body cannot execute small corrections efficiently. Panic is not an abstract emotional reaction in this context. It is a physiological state driven by the same systems being affected by the venom. Elevated heart rate, rapid breathing, and heightened alertness are part of the body's attempt to respond to what it interprets as a significant threat. But when these responses are layered on top of overwhelming pain and disrupted motor control, they can become counterproductive. Breathing may become shallow or irregular. Movements become rushed and imprecise. The ability to make measured decisions, where to step, how to move, when to stop, diminishes. This is where the bullet ant distinguishes itself from the other animals in this sequence. The eel, the coral snake, the wandering spider, and the bushmaster each deliver a form of shutdown that can be traced to a specific pathway: electrical override, neurotoxic interference, autonomic chaos, or circulatory collapse. The bullet ant operates differently. It does not target a single system in isolation. It overwhelms the system that integrates all others. By saturating the nervous system with pain, it disrupts the body's ability to coordinate any response effectively. The ecological logic behind this strategy is rooted in defense rather than predation. Bullet ants are not hunting large animals. They are protecting a resource: the colony, its brood, and the pathways that sustain it. The intensity of the sting is not designed to kill. It is designed to deter, to create an experience so disruptive that the cost of interaction outweighs any potential benefit. In a dense ecosystem where encounters are frequent, this kind of deterrence is highly effective. Predators learn quickly. Larger animals avoid areas associated with the colony. The system maintains itself through the consequences it imposes. There is also a temporal dimension to this interaction that reinforces its impact. The effects of the sting do not end when the ants disengage. They persist, extending the disruption beyond the initial contact. In the context of the rainforest, where movement and awareness must be continuous, this persistence matters. A body that remains compromised, trembling, in pain, unable to focus fully, remains vulnerable to other challenges. The environment does not pause to allow recovery. It continues to present obstacles, and the body must navigate them in a diminished state. The broader significance of this chapter lies in how it reframes the idea of threat. The bullet ant does not rely on size, speed, or a single decisive action. It relies on numbers, coordination, and a biochemical tool that targets the core of sensory processing. The danger is not located in one individual, but in the collective response of many. This shifts the scale of the interaction. It is no longer about avoiding a single strike. It is about avoiding a system that can engage from multiple points simultaneously. Within the structure of this narrative, the bullet ant completes the progression from singular, targeted mechanisms of shutdown to distributed, overwhelming ones. It demonstrates that the body does not need to be physically incapacitated to fail. It only needs to be prevented from functioning coherently. Pain, when amplified and sustained, can achieve that outcome by monopolizing the nervous system's capacity to process and respond. The forest, in this final view, reveals a consistent pattern. Whether through electricity, venom, mechanical injury, or collective defense, the most effective strategies are those that disrupt control at its foundation. Movement, balance, breathing, decision-making. Each depends on systems that must operate together. When those systems are interrupted, whether cleanly or chaotically, the result is the same. The body ceases to function as a unified whole. Among the roots and branches, along the living pathways that thread through the rainforest, the bullet ant continues its work, part of a colony that exists not as a collection of individuals, but as a single, distributed organism. It does not need to pursue or overpower. It only needs to respond, and in that response, it demonstrates one final, brutal truth. In the Amazon, control is everything. And once it is taken away, whether by a pulse of electricity, a strand of venom, or a network of stings, the outcome is no longer a contest. It is a process already in motion. The forest floor does not forgive inattention. By the time the light filters down through the canopy and reaches the ground, it has already been broken apart, scattered into fragments that illuminate some surfaces while leaving others in a kind of permanent half-shadow. Leaves overlap in thick, decomposing layers, their edges curling, darkening, and blending into a continuous, irregular texture that hides more than it reveals. Movement here is not guided by clear sightlines, but by assumption, by the expectation that the ground will behave as ground, that shapes will remain what they appear to be. The Bushmaster exists precisely within that assumption, and it turns it into a liability. Unlike the wandering spider, which moves through this environment as an active hunter, the Bushmaster commits to stillness. Its body, long and heavy, settles into the leaf litter with a kind of finality that makes it indistinguishable from the surrounding debris. The patterning along its scales, muted browns, deep rust tones, irregular markings, does not mimic a single object, but the entire concept of decay. It is not trying to look like a leaf. It is trying to look like the absence of anything worth noticing. In a forest where decay is constant and omnipresent, that strategy is devastatingly effective. This is an ambush predator, but not in the simplistic sense of waiting and striking blindly. The Bushmaster is highly attuned to the physical signals that move through its environment. Like other pit vipers, it possesses specialized heat-sensing organs, loreal pits located between the eye and nostril, that detect infrared radiation. Warm-blooded animals do not need to be seen in the conventional sense. Their heat signatures register as distinct patterns against the cooler background of the forest floor. Even in low light or complete darkness, the Bushmaster can resolve these thermal differences with remarkable precision, constructing a functional image of its surroundings based on temperature alone. This sensory system operates alongside others. Vibrations travel through the ground, subtle shifts in pressure that indicate movement long before the animal itself is visible. Chemical cues linger in the air and on surfaces, providing additional layers of information about what has passed through the area. The Bushmaster does not rely on a single channel of perception. It integrates multiple inputs into a cohesive awareness that allows it to remain still until the moment movement becomes necessary. When that moment arrives, the transition is immediate and violent. The strike is not exploratory or hesitant. It is a rapid extension of the body, driven by powerful muscles that propel the head forward with speed that collapses reaction time. The fangs, long, hinged, and capable of rotating into position as the mouth opens, penetrate deeply, delivering venom in a single, decisive action. There is no need for prolonged contact. The system is designed for efficiency. Inject, release, and withdraw before the prey can respond effectively. What happens next is where the Bushmaster distinguishes itself from the animals that came before in this sequence. The eel disrupts the nervous system through electricity. The coral snake interferes with neural communication through targeted neurotoxins. The wandering spider creates a cascade of autonomic chaos. The Bushmaster does something broader, more overwhelming, and in many ways more destabilizing. Its venom is not focused on a single pathway. It is a complex mixture of enzymes and proteins, hemotoxins, proteases, and other compounds that act across multiple systems simultaneously. At the site of the bite, the effects begin almost immediately. Tissue damage can develop rapidly as enzymes break down cellular structures, disrupting the integrity of muscle and connective tissue. Blood vessels become compromised, leading to localized bleeding and swelling that is not just a surface reaction, but a reflection of deeper vascular disruption. The area around the bite may become increasingly unstable, not only because of pain, but because the physical structure of the tissue is being altered. But the Bushmaster's impact does not remain localized for long. As the venom enters the bloodstream and circulatory system, it begins to exert systemic effects that extend far beyond the initial contact point. Blood clotting mechanisms can be disrupted, leading to a state where the body is unable to regulate bleeding effectively. In some cases, this manifests as uncontrolled clot formation, followed by a depletion of clotting factors, creating a paradoxical situation where both clotting and bleeding are impaired. The circulatory system, which depends on precise balance and regulation, begins to lose coherence. This is where the concept of body shutdown takes on a heavier, more physical dimension. The victim is not simply losing control of muscles or experiencing neurological interference. The underlying systems that support those functions, blood flow, tissue integrity, fluid balance, are being destabilized. Weakness sets in, not as a single event, but as a progression. Muscles that were capable of coordinated movement begin to feel unreliable, not because they cannot receive signals, but because they are no longer supported by stable internal conditions. Blood pressure may drop, contributing to dizziness or confusion. The body's ability to maintain equilibrium, both literally and physiologically, begins to erode. In the dense environment of the rainforest, This erosion has immediate consequences. Movement through the forest floor requires constant adjustment, a continuous negotiation with uneven terrain, obstacles, and shifting surfaces. When strength diminishes and coordination falters, those adjustments become harder to execute. A step that should be stable becomes uncertain. Balance, once automatic, requires effort. The margin for error, already narrow, begins to disappear. The Bushmaster's strategy is not to chase a fleeing animal over long distances. It does not need to. The Venom does the work, converting a brief moment of contact into a prolonged process of decline. Prey animals that are struck may attempt to flee initially, but as the systemic effects take hold, their ability to sustain movement decreases. Weakness compounds, confusion sets in, and the capacity to respond to further threats diminishes. In many cases, the animal will succumb within a relatively short distance of the strike site, allowing the Bushmaster to locate it later through chemical cues. There is an additional layer of biological nuance that reinforces this approach. Bushmasters are among the few pit vipers that exhibit a degree of parental investment, with females known to guard their eggs, a behavior that is relatively uncommon among snakes. This suggests an evolutionary strategy that balances energy expenditure with reproductive success. A large envenomation that quickly incapacitates prey reduces the need for repeated hunting attempts, conserving energy that can be allocated elsewhere. The venom is not just a weapon, it is part of a broader system of efficiency. The environment itself amplifies the severity of the encounter. The Amazon is not a place where injury can be easily managed or mitigated. High humidity, microbial richness, and constant biological activity mean that wounds are exposed to a wide array of secondary challenges. While the venom initiates the primary damage, the surrounding conditions can complicate recovery, especially in the absence of immediate intervention. This is not unique to the Bushmaster, but it is an important part of the context in which its venom operates. What makes this chapter essential within the larger narrative is the shift in mechanism. The eel demonstrated that the nervous system can be overridden instantly. The coral snake showed how communication between nerves and muscles can be disrupted over time. The wandering spider introduced the idea of systemic chaos, where multiple signals conflict and destabilize the body's internal balance. The Bushmaster completes this progression by showing that shutdown can also occur through structural and circulatory collapse. The systems remain connected, but they no longer function cohesively because the physical conditions that support them have been compromised. This is not a clean or elegant form of failure. It is heavy, messy, and difficult to reverse once it has progressed beyond a certain point. The body does not simply stop, it degrades in its ability to sustain itself. Each system depends on the others, and as one begins to fail, the strain on the rest increases. Movement becomes effortful, then unsustainable. Awareness may persist, but the ability to act on it diminishes. The forest, already complex and demanding, becomes increasingly hostile as the body loses the capacity to navigate it effectively. The Bushmaster does not need to pursue or dominate in a visible way. Its strength lies in the conversion of a single, well-timed action into a cascade of internal consequences. It is a predator that leverages biology at multiple levels, from the precision of its sensory systems to the complexity of its venom. In doing so, it reinforces a central idea that runs through the Amazon. That control is not only about strength or speed, but about the integrity of the systems that make those qualities possible. On the forest floor, where every step is a negotiation with the environment, that integrity is everything. And when it begins to fail, not through a single pathway, but through a coordinated breakdown of structure and circulation, the outcome is not dramatic in the way a chase might be, but it is final in a way that leaves little room for recovery. The rainforest does not become safer when you leave the water or step away from snakes. If anything, the danger compresses, becoming closer, more immediate, and far less predictable. On the forest floor, distance collapses into centimeters, and the difference between contact and avoidance is measured not in reaction time, but in awareness. Leaf litter shifts underfoot, branches overlap in tight, irregular patterns, and the ground itself feels alive with small, hidden movements. It is here, within this layered and cluttered environment, that the Brazilian wandering spider operates. Not as a distant threat, but as something that exists at the same level as your hands, your steps, and your mistakes. Unlike web-building spiders that anchor themselves to a fixed structure and wait for prey to arrive, the Brazilian wandering spider moves. It hunts actively, covering ground with a deliberate, controlled pace that reflects both its sensory capabilities and its ecological role. Its body is built for this mobility, long, powerful legs that lift it above the uneven substrate, sensitive hairs that detect vibrations and air movement, and forward-facing eyes that, while not exceptional compared to some visual predators, are more than sufficient at close range. It does not need to see far. It needs to see enough, and it needs to react instantly. Nocturnal behavior defines much of its activity. As daylight fades and the forest transitions into a different kind of motion, one driven less by vision and more by sound, scent, and vibration, the wandering spider becomes more active. Many of its prey species follow similar patterns, emerging under the cover of darkness to feed, move, or reproduce. In this temporal overlap, the spider finds opportunity. It does not cast a net or construct a trap. It closes distance. It detects subtle disturbances, an insect brushing against a leaf, a small amphibian shifting its weight, a faint tremor transmitted through the ground, and it responds with speed that feels disproportionate to its size. This is where the first layer of unease begins to build. The spider is not waiting in a predictable place. It is not anchored to a web you can see, avoid, or disturb. It is part of the moving fabric of the forest itself. It can be under a fallen leaf, inside a hollow, along the base of a trunk, or crossing open ground in a direct line towards something it has already detected. Encounters are therefore not structured around approach and avoidance, but around coincidence. You do not move toward it. You intersect with it. When that intersection happens, the spider does not rely on bluff alone, but it does not default to immediate attack either. Its defensive posture is one of the most distinctive behaviors among arachnids. It raises its front legs high, exposing its fangs, body elevated and angled in a way that makes it appear larger and more imposing. This is not theatrics in the sense of empty display. It is a calibrated signal. Distance matters, and crossing it will have consequences. The fangs themselves, chelicerae equipped with venom-delivering openings, are not oversized in proportion to the body, but they are more than sufficient for their function. At close range, they are precise instruments. The real significance of this posture lies in what it represents. The spider is not passive, and it is not easily displaced. It stands its ground, and in doing so, it creates a moment of decision. For a predator, This may be enough to discourage further approach. For a human, it often creates hesitation, uncertainty, and sometimes a delayed reaction that increases the likelihood of contact. The spider's world is measured in very short distances, and within that space, it is extremely efficient. The venom of the Brazilian wandering spider is where the chapter shifts from visual tension into physiological consequence. Unlike the coral snake's more progressive neurotoxic shutdown, the spider's venom introduces a different kind of disruption, one that engages multiple systems simultaneously and does so with an intensity that feels chaotic rather than controlled. The venom is a complex mixture of neurotoxins and other biologically active compounds that affect ion channels, neurotransmitter release, and the autonomic nervous system. It does not simply block signals, it distorts them, amplifies them, and sends them through pathways that were not designed to handle that kind of input. The immediate effect is often severe, localized pain, but that is only the surface layer. Beneath it, the body begins to respond in ways that reflect deeper interference. Sweating increases as the autonomic system is pushed into overdrive. Heart rate may elevate or become irregular, not because of exertion, but because the signals controlling cardiac function are being altered. Blood pressure can fluctuate. Muscles may twitch or contract unpredictably, not in the coordinated pattern seen with electrical shock, but in scattered, disorganized bursts that reflect disrupted signaling rather than direct override. This is where the concept of body failure takes on a different form. The victim is not paralyzed in the way one might expect from a purely neurotoxic agent. Instead, the body becomes unreliable. Systems that should operate in balance begin to conflict with each other. The sensation is not one of stillness, but of instability. The organism remains conscious, aware of its surroundings, but increasingly disconnected from its ability to respond in a controlled, coherent way. It is a state that feels closer to overload than shutdown, as if the internal wiring has been pushed beyond its capacity to regulate itself. In ecological terms, this strategy is effective because it does not require prolonged engagement. The spider delivers its venom and withdraws, allowing the physiological effects to take hold. For small prey, the disruption is often sufficient to immobilize or incapacitate quickly. For larger animals, including humans, the experience is more complex, but the principle remains the same. The body is forced into a state where normal function is compromised. In an environment like the Amazon, where stability and coordination are essential for navigation, this kind of disruption can have cascading consequences. A misstep, a loss of balance, a delayed reaction. Each becomes more likely when the body is no longer operating smoothly. The surrounding habitat amplifies this vulnerability. The forest floor is not a flat, predictable surface. It is uneven, layered, and constantly shifting. Roots create obstacles, decaying wood collapses under pressure, and moisture makes surfaces slick. Under normal conditions, movement through this space requires continuous micro-adjustments, small corrections in balance, pressure, and direction that keep an animal upright and moving efficiently. When the nervous system is disrupted, even slightly, those adjustments become less reliable. The environment does not change, but the ability to navigate it does. There is also a broader biological context that gives the wandering spider its particular edge. Its venom has evolved not just for defense, but for predation across a range of prey types. This requires a level of versatility. The compounds within the venom interact with fundamental aspects of nerve and muscle function that are shared across many organisms. This is why the effects can feel so profound and so immediate. The target is not a specialized pathway unique to a single species, but core physiological processes that underpin movement, sensation, and regulation. Despite its reputation, the spider is not an indiscriminate aggressor. It does not seek out large animals, and it does not attack without provocation. Most bites occur when the spider is accidentally disturbed, handled, or trapped against the skin. This distinction matters, not to reduce the seriousness of the encounter, but to place it within a realistic framework. The danger is not random. It emerges from interaction, from proximity, from moments where awareness breaks down and contact becomes unavoidable. In the context of this broader narrative, the Brazilian wandering spider expands the idea introduced by the eel and the coral snake into something more immediate and more intimate. It operates at the same physical scale as the observer, within the same space that hands, feet, and bodies occupy. Its effects are not distant or delayed in a way that feels abstract. They are direct, internal, and difficult to ignore. The body does not simply stop. It begins to behave in ways that feel unfamiliar, unstable, and beyond voluntary control. This is a different kind of fear, one that does not rely on size or spectacle. It is rooted in proximity, in the knowledge that the systems you depend on, movement, balance, coordination, can be disrupted without visible damage. The rainforest, in this sense, is not just a place where predators overpower prey through strength or speed. It is a place where control itself can be compromised, where the line between functioning and failing is thinner than it appears. As the night deepens and the forest settles into its nocturnal rhythm, the wandering spider continues its movement, crossing the same ground that countless other animals depend on for survival. It does not announce itself, and it does not need to. Its presence is defined not by noise or visibility, but by the potential it carries, the ability to turn a brief moment of contact into a cascade of internal disruption. And in a place where stability is already hard-won, that is more than enough. The forest floor in the Amazon does not advertise danger in the way people expect. There are no warning sirens, no dramatic movements that announce intent. Instead, risk is often embedded into color, into pattern, into the quiet presence of something that does not need to chase or posture to remain effective. In the filtered green light beneath the canopy, where fallen leaves overlap in damp layers and roots twist through soil like exposed veins, a coral snake moves with a kind of composure that feels almost detached from the chaos around it. It does not rush. It does not inflate itself to appear larger. It does not rely on intimidation. Its entire strategy is built on precision, restraint, and a biological mechanism that operates long after the moment of contact has passed. At first glance, the animal appears almost decorative. Bands of red, black, and yellow or white wrap around its body in clean, repeating sequences, creating one of the most recognizable color patterns in the rainforest. This is not accidental, and it is not subtle. These colors function as aposematic signaling, a visual declaration that the animal carries a form of defense or danger worth avoiding. In ecosystems where encounters happen quickly and often at close range, clarity matters. The coral snake's pattern is designed to be learned and remembered, not deciphered in the moment. Predators that have experienced or inherited the consequences of ignoring that signal tend to hesitate. And in that hesitation, the snake gains its advantage without ever needing to escalate. But the system is not perfect, and that imperfection is where the real tension begins. The Amazon is full of mimic species, harmless snakes that have evolved similar banding patterns to exploit the same hesitation response. For a predator, this creates uncertainty. For a human observer, it creates confusion. The difference between a harmless mimic and a true coral snake can hinge on subtle pattern variations that are easy to misread under field conditions. This ambiguity does not dilute the coral snake's effectiveness, it reinforces it. The cost of guessing wrong is disproportionately high, and in a system where hesitation is already built into survival, the safest decision often becomes avoidance of anything that resembles the pattern at all. Unlike large vipers, which rely on hinged fangs capable of delivering venom through rapid, high-force strikes, coral snakes belong to a different lineage of venomous snakes known as elapids. Their fangs are relatively short and fixed in position, which changes the mechanics of envenomation. Rather than delivering a quick stabbing injection, coral snakes often rely on a more sustained bite, holding on long enough to ensure venom transfer. This is not a flaw or limitation. It is a reflection of a different evolutionary solution. The venom itself does not need to act instantly to be effective. It is designed to operate at the level of the nervous system, where its impact unfolds with a kind of quiet inevitability. Coral snake venom is predominantly neurotoxic, meaning it interferes with the communication between nerves and muscles. Under normal conditions, movement depends on a precisely timed exchange of chemical signals at neuromuscular junctions. Nerve cells release neurotransmitters that bind to receptors on muscle fibers, triggering contraction. This process is continuous, dynamic, and tightly regulated, allowing for everything from rapid escape responses to the subtle adjustments required for breathing. The venom disrupts this system by binding to those same receptors or interfering with signal transmission, effectively blocking the instructions that tell muscles when and how to move. The immediate sensation following a bite may be deceptively mild, especially when compared to the intense pain associated with some viper envenomations. This lack of dramatic onset is part of what makes the coral snake so conceptually unsettling. There is no obvious escalation, no immediate visual cue that something catastrophic has begun. Instead, the effects develop progressively. Muscles may begin to feel weak or unresponsive. Coordination becomes less reliable. Movements that should be automatic require conscious effort, and even then, they may not execute correctly. The body, which normally operates as a unified system, begins to fragment into parts that no longer respond in sync. As the neurotoxic effects deepen, the implications extend beyond voluntary movement. The muscles responsible for breathing, particularly the diaphragm and intercostal muscles, are also subject to the same disrupted signaling. Respiration, which is both automatic and essential, becomes compromised. In untreated cases, this can lead to respiratory failure, not because the lungs themselves are damaged, but because the body can no longer coordinate the act of breathing. It is a form of shutdown that feels clinical rather than violent, a gradual loss of function that underscores how dependent survival is on uninterrupted communication within the nervous system. In the ecological context of the Amazon, this strategy aligns with the coral snake's overall behavior and role. It is not an active pursuer of large prey, nor does it need to defend territory through overt displays of strength. Its diet consists primarily of small vertebrates, including other snakes, lizards, and amphibians, animals that can be subdued effectively through precise envenomation rather than brute force. The energy investment is efficient. A controlled bite, followed by a venom that ensures the prey cannot escape or resist, reduces the need for prolonged struggle. In a system where energy conservation can determine survival, This efficiency is not just advantageous, it is essential. The surrounding environment reinforces the subtlety of this interaction. The forest floor is a mosaic of textures and microhabitats, leaf litter that retains moisture, fallen logs that host entire communities of insects and fungi, narrow gaps between roots where small animals move unseen. Within this complexity, encounters are often brief and accidental. A foot placed without full visibility, a hand brushing against debris, a moment of inattention while navigating uneven ground. These are the conditions under which contact occurs. The coral snake does not need to seek out conflict. It exists within a network of pathways that other animals, including humans, inevitably cross. Thermoregulation plays a quiet but important role in shaping the snake's activity patterns. As an ectothermic animal, its body temperature, and therefore its metabolic rate, is influenced by the ambient conditions of the forest. In the Amazon, where temperature and humidity remain relatively stable, but microclimates vary across small distances, the coral snake adjusts its behavior accordingly. It may remain concealed during peak heat, emerging during cooler periods when prey activity aligns with its own physiological readiness. This synchronization is not dramatic, but it is precise, allowing the snake to operate within a narrow window of optimal function. What makes the coral snake particularly effective within this system is not just the potency of its venom, but the alignment between its appearance, behavior, and physiological capabilities. The warning coloration reduces unnecessary conflict by signaling risk before contact occurs. The neurotoxic venom ensures that when contact does happen, the outcome does not depend on physical dominance. The environment provides both concealment and opportunity, creating a space where subtle interactions carry significant consequences. Each element reinforces the others, forming a cohesive strategy that does not rely on any single factor alone. There is a tendency, especially in popular narratives, to exaggerate or simplify animals like the coral snake into symbols of instant danger, but that approach misses the more instructive reality. The threat is real, but it is not chaotic or unpredictable. It is structured, consistent, and governed by biological mechanisms that can be understood. The danger lies not in the animal behaving erratically, but in the observer failing to recognize the system they are entering. The colors are not decoration. The quiet movement is not passivity. The absence of immediate pain is not safety. Each of these elements contributes to a form of predation and defense that operates beneath the threshold of obvious drama. In this sense, the coral snake extends the central idea introduced by the electric eel, but through a different medium. Where the eel uses electrical energy to override the nervous system in an instant, the coral snake uses biochemistry to achieve a similar outcome over time. The result is the same. The body ceases to function as intended. Muscles no longer respond, coordination dissolves, and the systems that sustain life begin to fail. The difference lies in the pace and the perception. One is immediate and disorienting, the other gradual and deceptively calm. Together, they reveal a broader truth about the Amazon, that the most effective forms of predation are not always the most visible, and that control, once lost, does not always return. In the layered stillness of the forest floor, where every step carries unseen variables, the coral snake does not need to assert itself loudly to remain significant. Its presence is enough, embedded in color and capability, waiting not for attention, but for the moment when attention lapses. And when that happens, the consequences are not defined by spectacle, but by the quiet, systematic unraveling of control within the body itself. The river feels safer than the forest floor, at least at first. The ground disappears beneath a shallow, slow-moving sheet of water, and the visual chaos of roots, leaves and shadows gives way to something that appears simpler, more open. Sunlight reflects in broken patterns across the surface, and beneath it, the sediment settles into soft gradients of brown and gold. It looks like a place where movement is easier, where each step can be seen before it is taken. That impression is convincing enough to lower caution, and that is exactly why the stingray becomes so effective in this space. Beneath that seemingly uniform layer of sand, the riverbed is not empty. Freshwater stingrays of the Amazon basin occupy these shallow zones with a strategy built almost entirely on absence. Their bodies flatten against the substrate, wide pectoral fins spreading outward until their outline dissolves into the contours of the river floor. The dorsal surface, often patterned with mottled spots or rings, mirrors the scattered light and debris above, breaking up any remaining visual cues that might reveal their presence. A thin layer of sand settles over them, not enough to bury, but enough to erase edges. What remains visible, if anything, are the eyes and spiracles positioned on top of the body, just exposed enough to monitor the environment while the rest of the animal disappears into it. This is not passive concealment. It is an active integration with the substrate, supported by subtle movements that adjust the flow of water and sediment across the body. The stingray does not simply lie still and hope not to be seen. It becomes part of the surface itself, responding to currents, pressure changes, and disturbances in a way that maintains the illusion. For prey species, small fish, crustaceans, and other bottom-dwelling organisms, this creates an ambush scenario that is difficult to detect until it is too late. But for larger animals, including humans, the encounter is rarely framed as predation. It is framed as a mistake. The stingray does not chase. It does not pursue or escalate an encounter through deliberate aggression. Its primary defense is reactive, triggered when something steps, presses, or traps it against the substrate. In that moment, the entire dynamic shifts from stillness to sudden, precise movement. The tail, long and flexible, arcs upward and forward in a controlled motion that brings the spine into contact with the source of pressure. This is not a wild strike. It is a targeted response, refined through repeated interaction with an environment where space is limited and escape routes are not always available. The spine itself is a remarkable structure. Composed of a hard, serrated material, it functions both as a mechanical weapon and as a delivery system for venom. Along its length are grooves associated with venom-producing tissues, allowing the introduction of toxic compounds into the wound during penetration. The serrations are angled backward, which means that once the spine enters tissue, it resists easy removal, increasing the extent of damage if it is withdrawn abruptly. This dual function, puncture and envenomation, defines the stingray's effectiveness as a defensive organism. The moment of contact is immediate and unmistakable. The spine penetrates with enough force to break skin and underlying tissue, often deeper than expected, given the animal's otherwise flattened appearance. The venom enters at the same time, introducing a complex mixture of proteins and other bioactive compounds that begin to act on local tissues and nerve endings. But the defining feature of this encounter is not just the injury itself. It is the pain. Described consistently as intense, burning, and overwhelming, the pain associated with a stingray strike is not a secondary effect. It is central to the outcome. The venom interacts with sensory pathways in a way that amplifies the perception of injury, creating a signal that dominates the nervous system's attention. This is not the kind of pain that can be compartmentalized or ignored. It demands response, and in doing so, it disrupts the body's ability to prioritize other functions. In a terrestrial setting, severe pain can already compromise movement, focus, and decision-making. In water, those effects are magnified. Stability depends on continuous adjustment, subtle shifts in weight and position that keep the body balanced against currents and uneven ground. When pain spikes suddenly and intensely, those adjustments become harder to execute. Muscles may tense or react unpredictably, not in coordinated patterns, but in response to the overwhelming sensory input. The result is a breakdown in controlled movement. Panic often follows, not as an abstract emotional response, but as a physiological cascade. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes irregular, and the body shifts into a state of heightened stress that further reduces precision. In shallow water, this can lead to loss of footing. A step that should be stable slips. A shift in weight overcompensates. The body, already dealing with a penetrating injury, now has to manage instability in an environment that offers little support. Breathing becomes a critical factor. Even in knee or waist-deep water, the act of maintaining an upright position while managing pain and instability requires coordination. When that coordination falters, the risk of submersion increases. A stumble can bring the face close to the surface or below it, and in a moment where breathing is already disrupted by stress and pain, that proximity becomes dangerous. The water does not need to be deep to create a life-threatening situation. It only needs to intersect with a body that can no longer maintain control. The ecological role of the stingray reinforces this dynamic. As a benthic feeder, it relies on detecting prey through a combination of electroreception and mechanosensory input. Like the electric eel, it can sense the electrical signals produced by other organisms, allowing it to locate hidden prey beneath the substrate. This sensory capability means that the stingray is already attuned to subtle disturbances in its environment. When a larger animal steps into its space, that disturbance is immediate and unmistakable, triggering the defensive response with minimal delay. This interaction highlights an important distinction within the broader theme of body shutdown. The stingray does not aim to incapacitate through systemic venom effects alone, although those can contribute to the overall outcome. Its primary mechanism is the creation of a situation where the body's response to pain becomes the limiting factor. The nervous system is not being silenced or blocked. It is being overwhelmed. Every signal it produces is dominated by the injury, and in that dominance, other functions, balance, coordination, controlled breathing, are pushed aside. There is a subtle irony in this strategy. The stingray, an animal that spends much of its time hidden and still, relies on the movement of others to trigger its most powerful response. It does not seek confrontation, yet it is fully prepared for it. The effectiveness of its defense depends on proximity, on the assumption that something larger will eventually occupy the same space. In a densely populated ecosystem like the Amazon, that assumption is not unreasonable. Seasonal changes in water levels further influence these encounters. During periods of lower water, when rivers and floodplains recede, animals are concentrated into smaller areas. Human activity may also increase in these accessible zones, whether for travel, fishing, or simple movement along the riverbank. The overlap between stingray habitat and human pathways becomes more pronounced, increasing the likelihood of accidental contact. The animal does not change its behavior. The environment changes the frequency of interaction. From a biological perspective, the stingray's approach is efficient. It does not expend energy pursuing threats. It does not rely on speed or endurance. It uses a single, well-timed action to create a condition that discourages further contact and, in some cases, neutralizes the immediate threat. The combination of mechanical injury and venom ensures that the response is both immediate and memorable, reinforcing avoidance in any animal that survives the encounter. Within the structure of this narrative, the stingray expands the concept of shutdown into a domain that is both familiar and underestimated. Water is often perceived as a neutral medium, something that supports movement and reduces the impact of gravity. But when control is compromised, when pain disrupts coordination and panic alters breathing, that same medium becomes unstable. The body, which depends on precise interaction with its environment, finds itself out of sync with the conditions it must navigate. This is not a story of pursuit or dominance in the traditional sense. It is a story of intersection, of a moment where two paths cross and the consequences are defined not by intention but by reaction. The stingray does not need to chase or overpower. It needs only to respond, and in that response, it reveals a different pathway to the same end. The body does not always fail because it is attacked directly at its core systems. Sometimes it fails because a single overwhelming signal takes control of everything else. In the quiet, sunlit shallows of the Amazon, where the surface appears calm and the ground seems stable, that possibility remains hidden just beneath the sand. And when it emerges, it does not do so with warning or escalation. It arrives all at once, turning a simple step into a complex emergency and forcing the body into a state where control is no longer guaranteed. The water looks still from above, but that impression collapses the moment you understand what lives inside it. In the slow, tannin-stained channels of the Amazon, where fallen leaves leach dark pigments into the current and sunlight breaks into fragmented copper-toned shafts, visibility is not just limited, it is fundamentally unreliable. Shapes dissolve into gradients, movement becomes suggestion rather than certainty, and distance compresses into a few body lengths at most. This is an environment where vision loses authority, where the difference between empty water and occupied space can be measured in fractions of a second. It is also the exact kind of place where the electric eel becomes not just effective, but dominant in a way that feels almost unfair. There is no dramatic approach, no visible stalking behavior in the way a jaguar moves through brush or a caiman glides beneath the surface. The electric eel operates within a different sensory framework entirely. Its body is elongated, heavy, and deceptively simple in shape. But internally, it is a layered system of specialized electric organs, modified muscle cells called electrocytes, that function less like tissue and more like a living battery array. These cells are stacked in series, each contributing a small voltage that, when discharged in coordination, produces a powerful electrical pulse. In large individuals, that discharge can exceed 600 volts, but the number itself is only part of the story. What matters more is how that energy is used and when. In the dim water, the eel is not blind, but it does not rely on sight to define its world. Instead, it continuously emits low-voltage electrical pulses, creating a self-generated field that interacts with everything around it. Objects distort this field. Living animals, with their conductive tissues and involuntary muscle potentials, distort it in complex, dynamic ways. To the eel, this is not abstract data. It is spatial information, immediate and precise. A fish hovering in place, a shrimp shifting along the substrate, even subtle muscle twitches register as disturbances in the electrical landscape. The eel reads these distortions the way a visual predator reads silhouettes. The difference is that this system does not depend on light, clarity, or angle. It works in darkness, in murk, in complete visual uncertainty. When the eel transitions from sensing to attacking, the shift is abrupt and decisive. The high-voltage discharge is not a random burst of energy, it is a targeted neurological weapon. The pulse travels through the water and into the body of the prey, directly interfacing with its nervous system. Muscles contract involuntarily, often all at once, overriding the animal's own control signals. This is where the true nature of the eel's predation becomes clear. It does not tear, it does not crush, and it does not inject venom. It interrupts. It hijacks the communication between brain and body, replacing coordinated movement with chaotic, forced contraction. For a fish in open water, survival depends on timing and direction. A fraction of a second determines whether it darts into cover, accelerates into a school, or vanishes into the shadows beneath submerged roots. The eel removes that fraction of a second entirely. The moment the pulse lands, the prey's muscles lock or spasm, often repeatedly, as the eel delivers rapid sequences of discharges. This is not just about causing pain. Although the sensation itself would be overwhelming, it is about collapsing function. Fins no longer respond to intent. The body may jerk violently or freeze in place, but in either case, the result is the same. Control is gone. In many encounters, the eel escalates its attack in a way that reveals an even deeper layer of precision. It can curl its body around the prey, bringing its head and tail closer together, effectively concentrating the electrical field directly through the target. This increases the intensity of the shock without requiring additional energy output. The prey, already disoriented, now receives a more focused and sustained neurological disruption. Muscle fatigue sets in quickly under repeated stimulation, and the ability to recover diminishes with each pulse. What began as a brief contact becomes a cascade of failure. The surrounding environment amplifies this effect. Blackwater rivers are often low in conductivity compared to sediment-rich systems, which means electrical signals travel differently, less dispersed, more contained within a defined space. For the eel, this creates a controlled arena. For the prey, it creates a trap. There are no clear escape routes in a visual sense, and now, under electrical assault, there are no reliable motor responses either. The water itself becomes an extension of the predator's reach, carrying the signal in all directions within that confined volume. This is why the eel belongs at the very front of this narrative. It demonstrates immediately and without ambiguity that destruction is not required for defeat. The body does not have to be opened, broken, or visibly damaged to fail. The nervous system, once disrupted, is enough. A fish that cannot coordinate its movements is already lost, even if it appears physically intact. In this sense, the eel represents a different category of predation, one that targets the underlying systems that make movement, escape, and resistance possible in the first place. There is also a behavioral nuance that makes this interaction even more unsettling. Electric eels have been observed using exploratory discharges, short, high-voltage pulses not to capture prey directly, but to provoke a response. Hidden animals, relying on stillness to avoid detection, are forced into involuntary movement by the shock. A fish concealed among roots or debris may twitch reflexively, revealing its position through the very system it hoped would keep it safe. The eel then follows up with a full attack, now guided by precise electrical feedback. In this way, the eel does not just detect prey, it actively exposes it. The broader ecological context reinforces why this strategy is so effective. Amazonian blackwater systems are structurally complex but visually limited. Submerged branches, leaf litter, and root networks create a dense, three-dimensional environment where traditional line-of-sight hunting is inefficient. Many predators compensate with heightened senses: lateral line systems in fish, acute hearing in mammals, chemical detection in reptiles. The electric eel goes further by generating its own sensory field, turning the environment into something it can read and manipulate simultaneously. It is not waiting for signals to arrive, it is producing them and interpreting the results in real time. For prey species, this creates a constant, invisible pressure. Avoidance strategies that work against other predators, remaining still, blending into the background, minimizing disturbance, can fail entirely against an animal that can reach into the nervous system itself. The margin for error narrows, not because the eel is faster or stronger in a conventional sense, but because it bypasses the usual stages of predation. There is no prolonged chase, no visible escalation. There is only detection, disruption, and collapse. Seen from above, none of this is obvious. The surface remains calm, broken only by occasional ripples or the faint disturbance of something moving just beneath. But below that surface, the rules are different. Contact does not have to be physical in the way we expect. Control does not have to be contested through strength. In the space of a single electrical pulse, the balance shifts entirely, and the river, already opaque and disorienting, becomes lethal, not because it hides the predator, but because it carries its attack. This is the underlying principle that defines the eel's role in this ecosystem and in this narrative. The Amazon does not always destroy by force. Sometimes it removes the ability to resist at all. And when that happens, the outcome is decided before the struggle even begins.